Hey everyone, and welcome to Kaswell's Kappa, the channel where you learn how to work on your Kappa step by step. In today's video, we're going to learn how to install check valves into your coolant lines or your coolant system. This also follows along with a bulletin that GM released some odd years ago. I think it's February 10th. But the TSB number, I'll have it right here for you. It's TSB number 10-06-02-001. Once again, it'll be right here where my hands are. So I'll provide you with clear instructions, torque specs, whatever is needed to complete this procedure, and instructions will be clear as day for y'all. So without further ado, let's get to the video. So why do we need to install these check valves, and what's the purpose of this TSB? What's it encompass? What problems were being caused to need this? So the check valves, first, what do? The check valves, the purpose of these is to let coolant in one way and not let it back in. And this could be the same thing for air. As we all know, the Kappas are notorious for getting air pockets in the system, especially for the 2.0 version of our vehicles. So you'd get air in your system, your vehicle would overheat, your engine would overheat, and then you'd get no heat coming out the blower because, you know, the coolant runs through the heater core and all that, and that helps give you heat. But if there's an air pocket in there, guess what? You're not getting no heat. You're just getting lukewarm air, or if it's cold outside, you're getting some cold air, and that's not fun in the winter. So what they did to relieve this problem is they took these check valves, they put them in two spots. They put one right out on the outbound hose of the radiator, and they put another one on top of the engine that goes to the surge tank. It's right next to the turbo coolant hose. By doing this, you'd let air out, but it couldn't go back in. Same with coolant, so it'd keep that natural circular motion without it having to go back, and it, you know, it's just better for the system. Some people would also take their thermostat and drill tiny holes in the thermostat, kind of like their own check valve, because air can go up but it can't really go back down with how that thermostat is placed vertically. But anyways, this was supposed to help with issues. Now granted, not really a one size fits all. It's kind of like a band-aid on a gaping wound. It's still not going to fix the problem. But the real way to solve this is to actually purge the air out the system with the correct procedures. But a lot of people still like this TSB. They think it's a wonder drug. I even did it, and other people like to do it too. So, but in this video we'll go over all of that. But that's the whole purpose for these check valves. So now that that's settled, let's go figure out how to put these in. Alright, so the locations that we'll be installing the check valves, one is going to be underneath your intercooler down here. Let's see here. Right there. So right there is where we're going to be installing the first check valve. The second check valve is going to be right here. This is going to be leading to the turbo, but it's going to be under this little hose right here. So those are the two spots that we're going to be installing the check valves. But first we will need to lower the coolant a little bit so we don't get it anywhere into the engine. So there's a petcock on the bottom right of the radiator that we're going to drain some coolant out of. You don't have to do it all the way, but in this step I will go ahead and drain the radiator all the way so that y'all can see what it's like. So we're going to do what's called a radiator flush or radiator drain. Now once again, you don't have to do it all the way, but it is an option. But I'm just doing the full flush. So let's go ahead and do that. Alright, so first things first, before we drain the coolant, we need to remove the cap according to the service manual, and we'll set that to the side. Alright, so we got the vehicle jacked up with my jack, got a jack stand in place, and I got my wheel chock set up. So coming to the front of the vehicle on the passenger side, it's going to be right underneath the radiator here. We're looking for the drain cock. Squeeze underneath here, and right here is where the coolant's going to flow out. The drain petcock is going to be up here. You see this little white screw? See where we at? Right here. This little white screw right there. So you'll act like it's a bolt and just loosen it, and the more you loosen it, the more coolant's going to flow out of this drain cock. So make sure you get a pan. I don't remember how much flows out, but make sure you get a good size one. So we're going to go ahead and do that. All right, now that I got my pen, I'm gonna reach under here. I'm gonna loosen the petcock. It's pretty stiff. There we go. Loosen it. Come on. There we go. Loosen it. I'm gonna let that radiator drain out all the way. Alright, now once most of the coolant's out, and I say most because you're not going to be able to get all of it out, you can have a steady drip for a while, and it would be just redundant to wait that long to get everything out, you know. So, but now that a majority of it's out, close your petcock. Right, now that the coolant has been drained out of the radiator, we're going to come over to our turbo or outlet hose. So you'll have the hose that comes from the turbo to the engine, where you have this little junction, and then this comes out to the overflow. You're going to loosen this hose clamp up here, and then you're going to remove this hose. Take your hose clamp, set that to the side. Next, you're going to take your check valve. You're going to lightly lubricate the outside of the check valve, and when you install it, you want to make sure the tapered edge, as you can see, one side's flat, one side's tapered. This is going to be facing the engine nipple. So the flat side is going up into the hose, and the tapered end down onto the nipple. That's very important that you remember that. It's a one-way valve. You can also test this by blowing into the tapered end, and when you breathe in or suck in, you shouldn't have any air going in at all. It's a one way. So blow out and then blow in. Alright, so for the next check valve, as you can see, it's underneath the intercooler. Now, this is going to be kind of difficult to reach, so one thing you can do is remove the intercooler pipe so that you have access to that check valve. To remove that, there's a hose clamp here. You have the MAP sensor. That's just a pull up and slide out, just like that. You can remove this hose either here or here, and that will disconnect. And then there's another hose clamp down here. Once that's all out, just squeeze them out and you'll have room to reach that check valve. Alright, here is the second one. Like before, remove the hose clamp and then remove the hose and get your check valve ready. Alright, hose is off, clamp is off, and we got our nipple in the hose and it's lubricated. Now, once again, remember, the nipple has to be facing the tapered edge, with the tapered edge toward the nipple. Now, unlike the engine, this one is plastic. You know, the metal nipple was metal. So this one, the TSB does warn you, be very careful, do not side load it or this nipple will break. And if it does, you're in for another issue. So make sure you're as straight as possible and try to be as gentle as possible. So we're going to go ahead and do that here. Do not apply any side force. Come on. Whew. Almost there. Alright. Is that all the way? Yes, alright, so that's on all the way now. Take it back out. Get your hose clamp. Slap it on there. Well, not just slap it on there, but you know what I mean. And then replace the hose, just like so. Tighten it on. Check valve's in there. There's the bulge. It's not horizontal, it's still vertical, even though this nipple is almost horizontal. But that is installed. Get your hose clamp tightened, and then we can move on to refilling the system. Alright, now if you have a Redline or GXP, we need to make sure to grab a pair of locking pliers, and we need to pinch the coolant hose that runs to the turbo. Now this is done to prevent coolant and air from reaching the turbo while we raise the reservoir up 14 inches. And if you do use some locking pliers, remember these have serrated teeth, so you want to cover the hose with a rag to prevent damage to the hose while pinching those. And now that those are pinched, we can move on to filling. Alright, so before we start filling, we need to disconnect several things around the surge tank so that we can raise it 14 inches. For one, there is a coolant sensor down here that we need to disconnect. As you can see, there's a clip on this side. Just take the clip and push out and then push down, and it's disconnected. Next is the surge tank retainer or clip. To remove this, just get you a key, pop it up a little bit on the sides, then just take the top out, and as you can see, it's raised right here. You can use another flathead or your key once again, or just get your finger in there and pry it up and pull it out and set that to the side. Next, if you have a Redline or a GXP, we need to remove the hose from the clip. Just pull out and lift up, and you can set that to the side or leave it there. Next up, we'll remove the surge tank retainer nut, which can be found back here. To take it off, set it to the side. And lastly, we'll need to disconnect the coolant hose right here from the wheelhouse. As you can see, it's connected right here. You'll just have to take that and pry it out. Alright, so now that everything's disconnected, we can take our surge tank and raise it up. It says to 14 inches above the bracket. So we'll take it, we'll raise it up, and obviously this isn't 14 inches, but you can take the radiator hose underneath the surge tank. You can give it a couple nice tugs, and as you can see, it gives us a lot more slack. A couple more, and that's about 14 inches right there. So whenever you fill the surge tank, the service manual does say to fill it about 15 millimeters below the neck, so it's about right here, and you'll have to do it multiple times. It says it will slowly fill the system, and it will take approximately about 10 minutes, maybe even more, depending on how fast it fills the system. So we're going to go ahead and fill it up to here, and we're going to raise it up. Alright, so once your coolant has settled, make sure it's about a little bit above the cold fill line. Next, install the retainer, the cap, the nut, and the coolant sensor underneath. Alright, now for the LNF engine, once everything is on, we're going to keep our pliers pinching that hose. We don't want anything getting through quite yet. We will take care of that later. Make sure it's slightly above the cold mark. We're going to start our engine, and we will run it or rev it at about 2,000 to 2,500 RPM for 5 minutes, not 3. Once that 5 minutes has finished, we will let the vehicle idle. Then we will remove the pliers. We will let the vehicle sit for 5 minutes and idle through 5 minutes. Once that 5 minutes has passed, we may shut the engine off. Once the pressure has cooled down and depressurized, add more coolant. Once you have added more coolant, restart the engine, and we will restart the process once again at 2,000 to 2,500 RPM. But this time, we will do it for 10 minutes, not 5. Once the 10 minutes has passed, we may let the engine idle for a moment, shut the engine down, check the coolant mark, and then if necessary, I would possibly do it for another 5 minutes. It's not necessary according to the service manual, but I would do it as a precaution. So let's go ahead and do it. Alright, so before you do start your engine and begin revving, I do want to remind you, if it is on a hot day like today, right now it's about 93 degrees, make sure all your air conditioning is off. You don't want this on because this will cause the fan to turn on, or it will cause your system to start working harder. And everyone knows when you're running your AC, your engine tends to heat up more. So make sure all that is off, and since the vehicle will be staying still, especially the NF or the LNF, for about 10 minutes, you may want to bring a fan so that it blows through the radiator a little bit if your vehicle starts to overheat. If your vehicle starts to overheat, immediately shut down your engine, grab you a fan, and begin to cool down just a tad bit. You don't want your engine overheating. But other than that, we can start her up.
Alright, so the 5 minutes has passed. For the LNF engine, make sure you disconnect the pliers and you're going to let it sit for 5 minutes. After the 5 minutes has ended, you will shut off your engine, refill the level as needed, and then restart your engine for another 10 minutes. Alright, so for the LNF engine, we have shut down our engine and we are now going to let the system depressurize and cool down. Once it's cooled down, we'll check the cold fill mark, which it has gone down just a tiny bit, which it will also go down more once it cools down. Once it's cooled off, add coolant as necessary. Then we will restart the process by starting our engine and revving our engines for 10 minutes at 2000 to 2500 RPM. Alright, so for the LNF engine, our engine has cooled down, and as you can see, the radiator level has gone down quite a bit, about a good whole inch, maybe an inch and a quarter. So we're going to refill our coolant to the cold fill line, maybe just a little bit more, since we will be running our engine for another 10 minutes. So once you fill your coolant, hop in your car, start her up, and rev it between 2000 and 2500 RPM for 10 minutes, and then we'll get back with you. Alright, now that your engine has been revving for 10 minutes and you let it idle and shut down the engine, come check your coolant level, see if it's gone down or if it's gone up, see what's going on. Let it cool down a little bit, enough so that you can open the radiator without it exploding on you, and add coolant or take away coolant if necessary. If everything turns out alright, your engine didn't overheat, everything looks nominal, everything is at the cold fill line, then you have completed draining and filling your coolant.
Alright, thank y'all so much for checking out the video. I hope that it helped you out today and that you learned something new. If you happen to need more procedures for the Kappas, or you just need clear instructions that are written down by GM themselves, I got you covered. On my website, Kaswell's Kappa Center, I have partially the full service manual. I'm still getting there, but they're clear, they're in PDFs, they're searchable, which is something new that I've started doing. And it's pages right out the service manual. Just go in there, service manuals, and bada bing, bada boom, it's all there. I got owner's manuals, more procedures, anything you need. It's literally the Kappa Center. So be sure to check that out. Well, that's all I got for y'all today. I'll see y'all next time. Till then.